of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Good evening. I'll have the clerk please call the roll.
Supervisor Fountain, here. Treasurer Horning, absent. Clerk Chofiu, here. Trustee Collier, here. Trustee Germain, here. Trustee Harper, here. Trustee Petrucci, here.
Thank you. Item number 4 is approval of our meeting agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Trustee Kalani, second by Trustee Harper. Is there any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Call to the public this evening? Anybody at call to the public? Sure. Folks, we're at call to the public. Nobody for call to the public. We'll move on to item number 6, approval of our consent agenda.
So moved.
Support.
Motion by Trustee Kalani, second by Trustee Petrucci. Any discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Item number 7 is pending a new business. This is a contract with Settlers Park Driveway Priest Companies. DPW Director Bob West. Good evening.
Good evening. Based on prior board discussions, we had talked about the potential to install a new driveway for the Settlers Park entrance off of Clark Road where the current gate is. It was a former driveway for the farm that was there. In an effort to proactive effort to move forward and try and get as much as this done before next year in the construction season, I'm recommending the installation of the future gravel driveway at this time. It can also serve as the construction entrance and access, so when we develop the park improvements, we don't have construction equipment coming through the Township Hall parking lot. At this point in time, we're looking at a temporary access, meaning it is not required to have the acceleration and deceleration lanes per the county. It would just simply be a construction access. It could later be converted to a permanent access. Proposing stripping the topsoil off that proposed path or driveway and balancing what little soils are on site, and then installing 6 to 8 inches of limestone as needed, compacted. This is based off the rendering that was submitted after the Park Site Plan Committee site visit. Just looking to move forward. I indicated to you last meeting I would have the driveway proposal before you, and I've complied with that. I'll be more than happy to answer any questions with regards to this.
I have no questions. However, the contract, the scope of work needs to be revised.
Okay.
It's talking about tree removal, not in stumps,
Okay.
not installation of driveway.
Okay.
Have we already done the stumps?
We have not.
We have not.
Same contractor. He's looking to just do it in one. So
This is included in that?
So this is being...
This would be a second contract, if you will, not an amendment to the first one. There's 2 different tasks. He just wants to do them at the same time.
The board already approved the tree removal contract.
Right.
That
So
attachment accidentally got left on in the packet that you're talking about, yeah. It should be another contract with this scope that we're talking about, a different contract.
That's, but I think the numbers, though, are correct, 13.9.
Yes, the numbers are correct. For some reason, I misinterpreted the scope.
Okay.
Doing some cut and
pointed
pasting.
it out.
No, thank you. I do appreciate that. Yeah, we'll definitely get it corrected.
Okay. Any other questions?
I have a concern that I raised with the township staff, and that is that I'm not opposed to proceeding with the driveway construction, but I am opposed to proceeding right away without a better understanding of where the well would be placed, the septic field, and a better understanding on the topography of the driveway. It doesn't make sense to build a construction driveway, which you don't really concerned about the grade, you can just match what's there, versus trying to build a driveway now that could be converted in the future that's going to have the proper grades and turning radiuses for the and what would be done. I think that we can proceed with approval of the contract, provided that there's a good understanding with township staff that, you know, the work should not. What I'm afraid was going to happen is that we would end up having to do something twice because we're trying to be so proactive. And that's what I'm opposed to, or what I don't want to see happen.
And perhaps I could shed a little light on that. What we're looking to do, where the proposed handicap parking is to be versus the existing parking lot. Once it's popped up here, I can kind of point to it. We have approximate elevation change of just under 5 feet. What we're looking to do is taper the driveway from the Clark Road elevation linear up to split that difference. So it'll be approximately 2.5 feet higher than the parking lot, and then the handicap parking will be another 2.5 feet to make up the difference. Our goal is to keep the handicap parking ADA compliant. From that point, you would be able to access the playscape pavilion or the restrooms, all while being ADA compliant. And so I guess what I'm saying is, let's see here, from this area to this area, there's approximately 5 foot difference, just under. We'll use 5 foot for the sake of argument.
Elevation change?
Yeah. And so what we're looking to do is split this difference to about 2.5, and then from here to here, we'll go approximately another 2. It's just under 5. At this point in time, we're looking to just strip this particular portion here and put in the limestone. We can actually do the connection at a later date to try and discourage people from going through there. What we would also do is just simply level this out so it settles the handicap parking. We're not going to do anything other than level the dirt and let it settle over the winter. If we choose to go a different route with the handicap parking next year, there's no harm, no foul. At this point in time, we're just looking to level that. So it would be somewhat prepped for stone and concrete and or asphalt, depending on what method we go for.
The question, it's pretty close to that path. Is the idea to connect that to the path as well?
The handicap parking would be. We want to make it wheelchair accessible so you could go right from a wheelchair to the pathway.
And that's the key to Trustee Germain's point, is that the grade that's most important is where this pathway is at. And so we need to make sure that the handicap parking and the facilities access are within the acceptable grade changes for ADA compliance. And that's not what we're proposing to do any of that right now, other than maybe clear the ground, let it settle, so that when that parking lot gets installed at that time, everything will be more engineered as to make sure the grades are there. So for now, it's just the actual driveway installation is really, it's not connecting and it's not going to the handicap. It's just getting it in here. Is that?
That is correct. And we will go all the way up to the gate. However, the gate will remain in place and be used as a construction access. We want to make sure that is not used as a public access at this point in time.
Bob, will we be putting any signs up saying construction access?
Yes, we would put them up on the posts of the gate, the posts that actually support the gate. They're very similar to Heritage Park.
Okay, and once the construction actually starts, are we going to put any signs out here prohibiting access for construction access?
Yes, we will. Being the scope of this construction activity is somewhat limited, we'll also be able to notify, I anticipate, less than 4 separate contractors for the whole proposed 2017 improvements. But yes, we certainly will.
The other concern that I would bring up, and it's perhaps not as critical now because we're not finishing the driveway, but typically a project like this would have an engineer provide how much subsoil needs to be removed to get good compaction. There would be a spec on how much gravel you're installing. None of those things are currently what I saw in the contract for Priest. As I recall, a different contractor built the current parking lot at this park, and there were no engineering specs provided at that time either. But at least the scope of work referenced the parking lot specs from the previous park where the same contractor had done work. So The other concern I have, which again does not impact a construction driveway, but we really need to look at grade changes. We've talked about putting an auxiliary parking lot to the north, and if we're going to put in a construction driveway now, and we're going to be doing the preliminary earthwork and land balancing, it would make sense that we at least have where that parking lot would go, perhaps, how that connection would happen, and whether or not there's any drainage issues that should be addressed. Because what we don't want to happen is this driveway becomes a conduit directly to the road. And none of those issues have been addressed in the current scope of work. If it's just a construction driveway, I don't have a problem with that. But these are all things that typically would be looked at in advance. And so far, we haven't done that.
So what do you anticipate this, just as a construction road, and then when we get to permanent, we'll redo it?
I anticipate it as more of a permanent driveway. It'll just be used as construction until we actually connect it to the existing parking lot, and then we do the county-approved entranceway. We're proposing limestone here, not crushed concrete. And just to kind of further maybe ease your mind a little bit here, when HRC developed the retention and the basins to the northeast, that was actually designed and calculated for the additional parking there to the north, if we ever did develop it. It actually encompassed from the pathway east and then directed all the water towards that pond. So while I certainly understand your concerns for drainage, I think it would be very minimal. I don't believe it would require anything, any additional underground drainage. Ironically, once you get past the power line kind of boundary, which, is right there, this drops off rapidly here towards the pond. And that was designed specifically for future expansion of the parking lot, because that was in all our concept plans. So just wanted to let you know that design and the calculations for the additional flow was incorporated into that pond design.
Well, that's good to know. The last thing I wanted to bring up is that, and Bob and I have talked about this, the location of the driveway as shown on the drawing that we're looking at may not be exactly where it's installed. Because if you look at it, it's pretty much going through the base of some of the very large trees that are there. And the concept was to keep those trees and maintain them. And it's partly due to the angle of the photography and all that kind of stuff. But
the other part is due to my poor GIS drawing skills. What we anticipate is keeping this as basically an island. We will take out all the kind of scrub trees in there. We will clean cut all the grass. We are going to keep all the mature trees in there and basically create a slight island there all the way to the driveway. That is none of those trees along there are anticipated to come out.
in Bob's defense, that is exactly the way it was described when the park site committee made a visit to the park and discussed this project in advance. But unfortunately, what is displayed is not quite exactly what was discussed. But I just wanted to clarify that for the rest of the board.
That line should actually be moved up about another 10 feet or so on that drawing. We will not remove those trees. I shouldn't say we won't remove those trees. There's two that are kind of growing into each other for aesthetics, and they're going to choke each other out. But the mature trees are actually staying.
Okay, so I have a couple questions. Did we put a culvert underneath where the driveway comes through? Because there's a ditch next to the road.
Yeah,
correctly?
right here.
Yeah, but how about where your road's coming through?
It's all through here. There's already a culvert through there.
So the surface water won't be trapped by the new road?
No.
Okay.
You can see right there.
Yeah.
Sorry, let me get my. It actually goes from this one up to that outlet, and from here it goes this way towards the interior loop. And those were some of the parking lot improvements we planned for future expansion.
And my second question is, going back to what Matt is suggesting, that if we were to wait until we had some engineered plans for a permanent driveway, I know we want to try to keep this project moving forward, but what is the purpose of this construction road in lieu of what we're going to do out there next year?
The ideal point would be...
Versus coming through the township hall in the existing...
And in the grand scheme of the minor tree removal, I don't think it would be any big deal. I can actually open the gate and we could probably mow the lawn just to get a couple tree trucks in there. The bigger aspect is the goal would be to let it kind of heave with the frost and settle. So come springtime, it's hard packed. My concerns lie with trying to do this in springtime when we're kicking off construction and we just end up with a mess of mud. That was my concern.
And my question is, what do you anticipate construction-wise being done next spring that would warrant we want to get this done I'm not sure what the timeline is, but we've got a restroom, we've got a playscape, and a pavilion. Do you anticipate all those starting in the spring?
I anticipate the restroom facility and the pavilion to occur, well, I did. It seems like we are slowly getting behind track, and I'm just trying to make up ground where I can. But if you remember, the Gantt chart indicated that we would start in the spring of 2017. Those would be the first two utilities, as well as we're going to have the excavators come in to do the septic. We're going to have the well drillers come in. Those will be the first ones to come in. Any underground electric that we run. There's been talk, perhaps, of maybe exploring putting a couple outlets at the pavilion. Prior discussions had them farther apart. Now it's substantially cheaper to do it now. So there will be, we'll have excavators. If we explore design-build restroom, we're going to have a crane truck come in there. There's just no way they're going to make it.
Now I got a better idea what you're talking about. The heavier equipment will use the...
Yeah, that was kind of the goal, and I don't want them to... On a brand new limestone driveway in the spring, everything's thawing. I have a little concern. Is it going to make or break it? No, because we'll probably have to freshen it up either way when it's finished. I just think there will be less freshening up if we were to do it this year.
And then you would anticipate having that road engineered and the additional parking when we get to that phase of...
Absolutely.
For the permanent entrance?
Yes.
Okay.
And I should have mentioned in the scope, we did have them, the design criteria used for Heritage Park, the cross-section, was used for this parking lot, which was also used by Priest when I solicited this quotation. So it would be identical. He was also the one who did the perk test with the county. He's very familiar because he just dug 3 holes out there to up to 9 feet in depth that they wanted to see. It was sand all the way down. We're in very, very good soils. And just to reference another point, this location here is primarily where we're going to have to put the septic system. The idea behind it is we're going to have that pumped out on occasion. I really don't want to have a hauling truck going on the grass and or the path. It would be a very simple access point to just come up that driveway and be able to address that issue when it's needed. Additionally, the well would be, we have to sustain 50 feet away from the septic field. We'd be just to the northwest corner, probably closer to the actual restroom structure.
Questions from other board members?
Again, I don't think there's a wrong way to do it. Ultimately, I think we can collectively agree a driveway is needed. It's just one less thing we have to worry about in springtime. We're certainly going to have our hands full with all the other proposed improvements. But I'm certainly willing to wait if that's a desire of the board.
I'll move to approve the contract with Priest Companies for the driveway construction at Settlers Park with the understanding that the contract will be revised accordingly.
Thank you. Yeah, I'll certainly do that.
Second.
Motion by Kalani, second by Trustee Harper. Any other discussion?
Do we need to put not to exceed 13.9 on that?
Sure, we can add that. Not to exceed 13,900.
Okay.
13,900.
That's right, 13,900.
Okay. Any other discussion? Being none, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Those opposed, nay. Motion carries.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Mr. Rex, can I ask Bob a question before you leave? It's not related to this.
Sure.
Do we have a installation date on the crossing signs yet?
The signs were delivered. Mattioli Cement has them in their possession. I called for an update today. He is anticipating he's going to do everything he can to get out there this weekend. They're wrapping up all their concrete jobs. It's probably the worst time of the year for a concrete contractor to do anything outside the scope of concrete. But he has assured me it is on his radar. They are sitting in his yard right now as we speak. He will have them up. He's anticipating this weekend. They're actually going to not shuffle any of their concrete jobs and just come in over the weekend. That was the latest update from Mattioli Cement today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I'll go to item number 8, which is board reports. Trustee Kalani?
I have
Trustee Germain?
Nothing.
Trustee Harper?
I do have one thing I heard over the news about absentee ballots. And Michigan is one of the few states where if somebody submitted an absentee ballot, that they could actually spoil their ballot and change it before Election Day. And I talked to Larry, and I asked him if he would take a minute and just explain how that process is in case somebody's already submitted their ballot and they decided that they need to make changes with the spoiled ballot.
At this point in time, the only way that we'd be able to do that, get it back in time, is for them to come into the township hall and indicate that they mismarked their ballot. We would have them sign an affidavit that they were going to get a replacement ballot. We would spoil that ballot on the system and issue them a new ballot right then and there. They would have till November 8th to get it back to us. So it's not a difficult procedure to do that.
Thank you.
But due to the time restraints via mail, you would want to come in and do it here?
Yes, we would not want to have them mail it in or mail it back out to them.
Okay. Thank you. Trustee Petrucci?
Okay, I just have passed out. Joe, I don't think, did you get one?
Yeah, they're right there. Right here on this desk thing to be forwarded.
Pass out the first quarter financial statement on the Hero Hartland Teen Center. So you can look at it at your leisure. If you have any questions, you can be called. Pretty self-explanatory. At the balance sheet, profit and loss, income. That's all I have.
Okay, thank you. Clerk Shofu?
We're processing absentee ballots. We've issued over 2,300 absentee ballots. We've received back approximately 1,600 at this point. There's still quite a few out there that we're expecting to come back in the next few days. So we're going to be busy with getting those all recorded and set up to be counted on the 8th of November.
Thank you.
What are the election hours on the 8th?
Sorry?
What are the hours on November 8th for voting?
You can, for
8 to 8.
For at the polls, 7 a.m. to 8 p.m.
Thank you. Just briefly, I did have a meeting with the Chamber of Commerce this morning, our quarterly information, just sharing where we are with some projects and what's happening in the township. And they're going to be forwarding 2 letters for 2 different road improvements that they would like to at least have the township be aware of. I asked them to write them up and forward them to James. And one of the concerns is right down here on Clark Road. They, as a chamber, feel that that's, it's tough on a lot of things. But I suggested that since we don't have control of that, it could be part of our portfolio as we go forward, dealing with MDOT or with the Road Commission. Other than that, we'll take a brief recess.
Wait, can I ask you a question?
I'm sure.
What is their concern on regarding Clark Road? Access on 59?
Yeah, and trying to get into that other lane across. It's as certain times of the day, it's very dangerous, as you well know. You got to kind of risk yourself getting out there. I did suggest that for the last month, because of Mug and Bop's having it down to 1 lane, that could be a factor as well. And now you have a access lane, basically all the way from, what's the name of it? Well, even beyond
AutoZone.
I think it might. Does it go all the way to Big B's?
Starts from AutoZone all the way down.
From AutoZone all the way down. So I don't know if that's going to be considered another lane for some people, but
will become a passing lane for a lot of people,
right.
Which is illegal for that. Now it's not illegal across 23, L23. That's supposed to be a merge lane.
right.
So but people will use that
So
acceleration.
it'll be interesting to see after that construction progress gets done if there's any improvement. But that was one area. And another one was Old 23 going northbound when you get to 59, that people should be able to take a right there, even though it's, when there's a red light, that they thought maybe some additional.
Why don't they move the one light further down?
Which
I
one?
mean, MDOT should look at possibly moving the one light further east,
Talking about Clark Road?
or near Clark Road, yeah. To create a...
We've talked to them. The warrants aren't there. They go by the book.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
We had that discussion
Yeah.
at the Planning Commission because that was a big issue for the people who live in, is it Heritage?
Heritage Meadows.
Heritage Meadows. The major concern of theirs, especially in the morning, is you can't even get out of there. There's so much traffic, right, coming in and out of there. And once you put Mugs and Props comes in there, it's going to be even worse. They really need to get off their, orthodoxy and use some common sense. I mean, and I understand what you're saying. The warrants aren't there, but it's a safety issue.
We'll continue to be the voice of common sense, and we'll see.
You're right.
See what
I thought
happens.
having the Chamber of Commerce be part of that discussion as well would be, it gives us a little bit more weight as a community versus just the township.
And the traffic counts may change with the development at a corner and may strike the warrants. At least that's what we would hope. So we keep on them. They hear it from us often.
Anything else on board reports?
And I want one more real quick. It was even discussed at the Planning Commission, and I think some of the board members, we've talked about this. If it's an issue of cost over safety, I think the township should step up and deal with it regardless of the cost.
Did we have some language with that?
We gave an overture like that and asked them to get us a price and asked the hypothetical if we were to pay for it, and they still said, no, the warrants aren't there, even if somebody else was paying for it. We'll certainly keep beating that drum, too.
Yeah, and I think maybe a formal letter or something we should consider.
Yeah.
So we're on record that we're looking at the issue of safety, and we want this taken care of. And I think the board needs to go on record with that.
Well, yeah, it'll take a few, but we won't give up on it, certainly.
Okay. Anything else for board reports tonight? Being none, we'll take a brief recess, and then we'll go to our manager's report and the balance of our meeting this evening.